Hi! For today's video, I'm starting in the front garden with all the flowers, and I've had just about all of the lilies sprout or bloom. Unfortunately, I had thunderstorms which knocked petals off. I have to look whether or not they need to be deadheaded like roses, but I've got a whole bunch of colors now, and my favorites so far are the yellow with the splash and the red with the orange outline, and the stamen or the pistil, never know what's what for the part of the flower. But I think what I'm going to do for next year is all these really tall ones I'm going to put in the back, and then all the really short ones I'm going to put in the front to give it more symmetry. It looks kind of haphazard, but I didn't know what I was going to get. For my bag of blooms, a major miscalculation here when I thought they weren't going to bloom, but it's been a bag of surprise for sure. So next year as well, I believe I'm going to put some of these in with the bigger bin, but I am happy to see flowers opening up for sure. So this is the orange tree, which unfortunately I no longer know the variety, as I always say, but I'm proud that this came back, and I don't expect to see fruit set. I believe it's just going to do roots, but it's looking really healthy. And I have my other lilies. Same thing here. I'm going to organize it a little better next year so that the tall ones are in the back and the shorter ones are up front. But the pops of color really do brighten up the front yard. And then the last lily bed, I definitely need to mix up the colors. I don't have any white in this lily bed. So over here are the roses again, and they are doing well. I have blooms on them already, and one has opened up. I like how it looks like a reverse peach. I really didn't want a red rose or a pink rose back here since we have the double pink roses up front. But as a bud, I got scared because I thought it was going to be super deep. But they actually turn out to be quite a lovely light pink and yellow color. If you hear the wind, my apologies, it is windy today. But over here at the arch trellis, I have the cantaloupes again, which look like they're recovering. They got beat up, so you see it's not disease or anything, but these original leaves got beat up. So they're coming back, they're greening up, they're getting bigger, but they're definitely behind everybody else. My acorn squash are beginning to be tall enough where I can put them behind or onto the trellis. Just a couple more days and I should be able to get them trained to the trellis. But they're doing good. Now the white stuff you see around all my plants. Earlier this morning when it wasn't so hot, because it is midday, I came out and side dressed my plants with bone meal and garden tone just to give them a boost of fertilizer for June instead of giving them some liquid fertilizer. Up here are the two Kajari, which as well looking really good. And the butternut squash were all big enough to put them towards the trellis. I'm not going to leave the clips on. The clips are just here for training at the moment since they've just started to touch. But as they get higher, I will remove the clips. So this is the carrots, nasturtium. and my one zucchini plant definitely gotten bigger. And the carrots are still fully lush. I do have to count back and find out how many days it's been since planting. Oh, look. Well, I hope this is. This might be a pest, but we got a bug in here. Just chilling. But I don't know how long these have officially been in. So I guess harvest will be soon. I'm running into a problem in this bed because the onions that I planted when these were much smaller and didn't look like they were going to get bigger are now getting crowded out, yet they are still growing. So the lavender and sweet pepper patch, the lavenders are getting bigger. Oh, my nasturtium flopped over. Fix that because it is blocking some lavender. So my lavender have gotten bigger. I've got fruit on all of the tangerine dreams. I believe I did show it before, but I'm going to show you the size of them now. They've gotten pretty big. This one is hiding back here. But Tangerine Dream has fruit. This shishito also has fruit. They look like little wrinkly peppers. I haven't seen any fruit yet on the Sunbright. This is just a sweet pepper, and I don't see any fruit there. Actually, there is a fruit. No, that's a flower. And this other shishito has some small ones, but just about. The Hungarian yellow wax has fruit on it as well too. So just about everybody has set fruit. And then the sweet potatoes are much fuller, much greener than they were. And this is the first strawberry patch. It is putting runners out like crazy, not so much fruit. So I'm gonna start cutting the runners off to see if I can get them to produce more fruit. And if you're wondering what a runner is, this right here, actually these are runners coming off the strawberries. And I don't necessarily want or have a need for this many more strawberry plants. So I'm gonna have to come in here, clean up some of the dying leaves from the bottom and the runners. But as you look, you see the marigolds are completely getting enclosed. So I don't know where I want to put my marigolds, but clearly I can't leave them here. So this is pepper bed number 3. And again, in here I've got a mix of hot peppers, sweet cherry, habanero, jalapeno, cayenne. I still don't have many fruit on these plants, but they have gotten much taller and they're bushing out. And I did prune them. I don't think that they are causing problems. So the ginger that's in here, I don't believe it's getting blocked out, even though this is getting super tall, because I've got two new sprouts on the ginger. So this ginger's doing good as well. And over here, I've got my pumpkins, which I completely underestimated the Muppet size of my marigolds and the humongousness of a pumpkin. So something's gonna have to go. I don't know what's gonna go, but something's gonna go. And over here, we've got the 2 cushaw, which one cushaw is busting out. Put this back up here. And this one looks like it got turned around. I don't see any fruit yet, but I see where the flowers are coming in. And then the third plant in this bed is the Royal Golden, which I was concerned about initially, but it does have some yellowing on the first couple, which I will be removing, and that looks like potential eggs of something, but go ahead and take these off right now. And then in this bed, oh wow, it's getting kind of wild in here. And I've got to trim stuff back. But in this tomato bed, I have a mixture, mostly determinate. So, I'm sorry, mostly indeterminate. I tend to grow indeterminate a lot because I like the flavor of the heirlooms. Although I don't know if there are determinate that are heirloom, but this is the only determinate that I have, which is Aroma, which was kind of dying before, so that's why it's so small in comparison to everybody else. And I just pulled off a sucker. But my Black Beauty, which I love this plant, I'm hoping it puts out at least one. I had to cut the stem here as the top of it went floppy. So I'm allowing another sucker to grow, but this plant has me all types of confused because usually suckers grow at the joint of the stem and a branch. Well, this sucker is growing of the branch. So that's something new. But otherwise, everything else in here is looking good. I had to massively trim back the nasturtium here because the plants are getting bigger. But this plant is the first one in this bed to have fruit set. In this area, we have the more mature tomato plants. This is my transplanted Cherokee Purple, which I've attached to this rebar for right now while I'm figuring out how to support it. It has 2 tomatoes on it so far. I think I'll be getting a couple more soon. Then I have I still think this is mislabeled because it doesn't look like the Black Beauties over there, but this says it's a Black Beauty, so we're just gonna go with it until I see the actual fruit. But this one has quite a few fruit down here. Bunch of flowers coming everywhere. This is my orange oxheart next door to its sibling, the pink. And this might be a foolish thing to do, to put the orange in the pink, because last year could have been a mislabeling issue because I did quite a bit incorrect last year with labeling my plants. But even though I had some labeled orange, they all were pink. So I'm hoping to actually get orange, and the orange one has a few and the pink one has a few. This one is the Big Rainbow. And these all need a good spray. There are a ton of aphids on here. But, oh, and I forgot about the one in here. What is this one? What's this one? Okay, so this is the beefsteak. I have to prune this. Let me go. I have to prune this beefsteak tomato that I have. And the funny thing about indeterminate is that No matter how many times you think you pull a sucker out of one spot, the sucker always seems to come back. But this one, clearly, I missed for a while because it is pretty monstrous. So aphids and all have to go. But I've got beefsteak tomatoes all in here. And then on this side, I have a Rutgers tomato, which it could be semi-determinate or determinate, not sure. But I've also have 2 Roma in the cages next to an old German, which this old German is not doing too great. Not doing too hot. It had some spots on it, and I cut the leaves off those spots. But the plant itself is the only one, I think, in this bed that doesn't have any fruit bearing, which is quite concerning because these tomatoes, I planted them early March. So they're like 3 months old, so it should have some fruit, but there's no fruit. So we'll see. So the lemon cucumbers have reached the point where one has reached the point where I can start to trellis it. This one is growing kind of in the other direction, so in order not to damage it, I'm going to wait for it to get a little longer. And this one will have to get quite a bit bigger before I can trellis it, but they'll be trellised soon. And then my Dixie Queen. So the Dixie Queen used to be over in that area, and I moved it here. And they are starting to run. Also, I don't see any flowers yet, but these are starting to run. Once again, the lavender patch, which I need to get those weeds from behind it. Let them go a little too long. And then we have my straight trellis. And I don't have any real issues with anything on the straight trellis right now. That Dixie Queen right there is a little small, but it's coming back. I know I said in previous videos I wasn't sure, but it is coming back. And then lastly, I moved the potatoes and onions from next to the peach tree and the nasturtium to over here. And my potatoes look raggedy, but it's actually the process of dying off. So I should be harvesting potatoes by the end of the month.